Okay. Yeah. So it's 12 and we can start. We'll just wait for a few minutes to let everyone join. And first of all, happy Diwali to everyone. It's a really, really special day for all of us. And uh, I would like to thank you all for being here on a Sunday afternoon for the US folks. And like a night for people from India. So I'm really really happy that you all are here. I would really appreciate if like a few of you folks can keep your cameras on because it will make me feel better because yeah, I'll feel as if it's a two-way conversation, not just one. Um, so that being said, you can always put on your put your hand have your hands up in between if you want to ask any questions. So yeah, and do let me like towards the end we will be having a detailed discussion session, so each and every question that you have will be answered. I'll be sitting here till the end moment, till each and every question is being answered, so just be completely relaxed. And yeah, that's it. We'll wait for 2 more minutes. Meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me. And also thanks to the folks who were there in the first session. It was really a good one, and I hope everyone liked it. So yeah, moving forward, it's gonna only catch pace because from today onwards till the next two session, we will be talking specifically about job search. So it will be super informative. I would like to share all the learnings that I got in the entire through the entire procedure. And yeah, if you guys learn from it, I'll be really really happy. So yeah, I'll just share my screen. Meanwhile, if you guys want to talk or say anything, I'm happy.
Hey, thanks, Vivek,
Hey,
for
thanks.
that. But yeah, I missed my first session. What was it about? What can you brief about what happened in that first session?
Yeah, it was about how can you align your profile towards AI/ML and how can you enter into that field and profile building. So, although a lot of other folks also missed this session, but that's absolutely fine. What I'll do is I'll just upload it somewhere and share the recording. But yeah, it won't be immediate and like talking about the first session. So I think the best part was the discussion because each and everyone was able to ask questions and I was able to answer their questions. So I would not want you guys to miss out on that opportunity of being able to ask questions on the call. So yeah, although the recording will be there for the other later sessions as well, but in person conversation will be much better. Okay. Uh, I'll
Good to
share.
see you again, Vivek. Once again, thanks. No blue headphone this time, huh?
No headphone? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, I was wearing my headphone, but turns out people were not able to listen. So I just switched. Just confirm if you guys are able to look at my screen.
Yep, we can.
Okay, that's good. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, so far we have uh, completed one session which was on career and profile building. The current one is going to be on job search strategy, part one, which is resume building. And later it will be application strategies, interview prep, and finally, and my favorite, staying focused. So, yeah, okay, fine then. We'll start. So, I'll be talking about the strategies that helped me. in building my resume, and it helped me get a lot of interviews. And finally, I ended up being hired by Qualcomm. So that is me, and let us start. So the agenda for today's meeting is to is to understand how to get a job, and particularly focus on the resume part. So job getting a job is can be divided into three different things, or like three different activities that you have to nail it. First is resume, which on which we'll be talking today. Second is applying using your resume. Different There are different application strategies. You need to choose the best one, and finally you need to also prepare well for your interviews and give a very good interview so that you get selected. So focusing on the resume, resume building can be further divided into three main steps. First one is formatting, second one is headings, and third is the content. So if we are able to focus on these three important parts, we will be able to have a very good resume of our own. And finally, I will also share some of the tips that worked really well for me and a lot of my friends. So yeah, as you can see, there are a lot of questions on formatting. We'll be talking about uh, the different things, or the different way recruiter, a hiring manager, and technical member looks at your resume. Then some common questions like, should you bold your text, which sections should come first, and resume formatting, these kind of things. And then in the headings, I'll be talking about which how important is your first experience or your first project, then different versions of resumes, and how can you put a non-aligning work experience in your resume to still add value to your resume, right? And then we'll also talk about the content. How do you put forth your content, your resume, like each and every point in your experience, in your projects, those things we'll be talking about. And then we'll also talk about some tips which really helped me. uh, I'll try to finish it up in 40 minutes, and rest of the 40 minutes will be for discussion, which can always extend till the time I answer each and every of your questions. So this is the agenda for today. Let's dive into it. So yeah, the very first thing, we have a conception that okay, this is my resume. This will be standard for each and everyone, and like even if a recruiter sees this, or a hiring manager sees this, or a technical member sees this, look at my resume, they will be looking at the same key information, but that is completely wrong. This is the key thing to remember, that a recruiter, a hiring manager, and a technical folk, all of them will look at different parts of your resume. Okay, so I'll just share my resume. uh, I hope my screen is visible, right? So this is the first part. uh, yeah, let me know if you are able to look at my resume with yellow highlights.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so see, the first person who is going to look at your resume, or like go through your resume and see whether you are a good fit to go ahead or not, is going to be the recruiter, the person who calls you and talks to you. Hey, are you open for this role? I saw that you applied for XYZ role, and I wanted to get some initial information so that I can proceed with your application. So it's that person, the recruiter. Okay, so the recruiter will look at these key informations only. The recruiter will not even go deep dive into any of the technical details. The recruiter will look at your email address, which is like really important. If this email address is wrong or misspelled or not clearly visible, you're gonna lose it. The phone number is a mandatory thing. It's really, really important for you to have a phone number. If you miss out on that, even if your profile is like super awesome, they won't be able to reach out to you, right? Because like even the big companies like Tesla and a lot of other companies, they prefer calling over the phone and asking you for immediate information, right? And only then they will be proceeding ahead. So this information, like phone number, should be readily available. And remember that the format in which you put your phone number is really important, because the ATS system will parse this information and fade it, like keep it in in the system. So some people prefer to have brackets and hyphens to keep the phone number very easy. That might be working for them, but I believe the ATS system is like a basic system. It will just try to copy paste the number. You wouldn't want to have some brackets or hyphens, so that like even if they try to have some automated call, it may prevent the call to happen. So keep it very simple. Now comes the very important part, the location. You must put a location in your resume. That is really important. Reason being, so the recruiter from Tesla, the first thing that he asked, "Hey, I don't see your where are you based out of? So I don't see your location. Can you please tell me?" So that was the question, very first question that he asked. Even the recruiter at Qualcomm asked me the same thing. That I can see that you, by that time I had put San Diego. So he asked me, okay, so you are based out of San Diego and we prefer candidates from San Diego. So that is an added advantage, right, for them, because they get to know which candidates they will have to provide a relocation at later stage, and which candidates they won't have to provide any relocation. There are a lot of folks who are not um, ready to relocate, right? So yeah, it's an important question for them to ask. So if you provide this information out front, it will be very easy for them. You need to provide your LinkedIn profile, a GitHub profile if you wish to have. I would prefer to you guys to have a GitHub profile, and also the website if you can have one. Okay, now coming to the other part. So the recruiter will be looking at your current work, current education if you are still studying, and they will also look at the country in which you are studying. These kind of informations recruiter will have to capture. They might also want to look at your work experience, the number of years you have worked. So they will be looking at these numbers. Rest everything is blank for them. They won't even have a look at it. Now comes this very important part. So skills section will be looked by the recruiter. Now I'll share a very funny story. So what happened once is that I got a call from recruiter, and the person and she was like, "Hey, do you? I see that you have applied for this role, and can you just tell me about your experience? What all technologies have you worked on?" So I told her that I worked on computer vision, I worked on transformer models, and I did model acceleration. These kind of things I told her, right? And then at the end, she was like, "Okay, that's all good, but have you worked on machine learning?" And I was like, "These are all machine learning models." So the point I am trying to put forth here is that even if you might feel that there are a lot of synonymous words, or you are trying to put forth the information in the best possible way, but the key thing here is to catch the keywords. People there are not technical. They don't understand the difference between computer vision, transformer model, or machine learning, or deep learning, these kind of words, right? So you'll have to include each and every keyword. And the best place to include the keywords is this section, the skills section. Okay. Am I clear till this point? Thumbs up and all would be appreciated. Or like anyone can say, yeah, good enough.
It's good.
Okay, so yeah, this was how a recruiter will look at your resume. The second is the hiring manager. So, assuming your resume passed through, and now the hiring manager is looking at your resume. So, these are the things that the hiring manager will look at. Starting with education, hiring manager won't be concerned with any of these things, right? Any of your personal information anymore, because it's the job of the recruiter to look at it. The hiring manager will look at your current education, your master's degree, or like whichever degree, undergrad, whatever degree it is. So the hiring manager will look at that. They will also look at the time span for which you are working and when you will be available. So I see a lot of people not putting this part here. the end time. It is really, really crucial for you to write down the end date. Okay, a lot of programs are flexible. So let's assume you get an option to complete it in the month of December or extend it further till the month of June. Yeah, that's correct. You may not know when you'll be ending your program, but you should start with the earliest. So maybe if you think that you'll be able to complete it in the month of December this year, then you should write December 2025. If you know that you'll be extending it to the next month, next year, then you should write that. Why? Because they want to get an idea when can I hire this candidate, and by like how soon this candidate will be able to join the firm and start working for us. Got it? So this is crucial. Now see this. So in each and every section, the hiring manager will only look at the role, and the company and the time span for you for which you worked there. And also, the hiring manager will also look at the first and the last line of your project. Why first and the last line? Because in general, the first line tells about what exactly the project is. The last line tells about what exactly the results are, right? So these are the things that the hiring manager will look at. You need to be very careful in putting the information in the first and the last line. It should be very readable, right? So this is how the hiring manager looks at your project. Again, I have highlighted a few key skills here. The hiring manager will only look at the skills that is needed for their team. So if you talk about Amazon, in that company, there are like fresh grad roles, and when they get your resume, they send it across different teams, and the team which finds your resume as a good fit will proceed ahead and send you an interview invite, right? So every team will look at different keywords. The hiring manager will look at the keywords and the skills that they need for their team. So you need to have each and every skills listed down here in the skills section nicely. And again, if I have since I have done publications, I will have this section called publications, and these are the things that hiring managers like a lot, because you are doing something special, something different that other folks are not doing. So you can have this if you have done some leadership, if you have held some leadership roles, or you have done some good initiative, you were the captain of some of your committee, some college committee or anything, you can put this here at the end, right? Because that shows that you are not just a nerd or talented in your skills, but you can also do a lot of other stuffs alongside. So yeah, this is how your resume is seen by the hiring manager. Now, assuming you are like super good and you cleared these two rounds, and then in the final round, your resume will be sent to some of the technical folks in the team. Okay, so they will be looking at your resume like this. They are not concerned whether you did a master's from US or India or whatever. They're not concerned about your personal details, but they are concerned about where did you study from, which courses did you take, okay, which courses did you take while you were studying there, and then these things. See the key difference here. Now, the technical person is not going to look at your project idea and the results a lot. They may, right? They may, but they'll be a lot focused on these things because this is where their expertise are. They would want to know, okay, so you tried to build, you tried to enhance the gaming experience by building an agentic AI solution. How did you do that? Which all technologies did you use? How did you enable streaming? How did you do this? How did you do that? Whatever. Okay. So the technical details is something that a technical member will look at, because they on daily basis they do that. That is their region of expertise. That is where they'll be able to gauge each and every candidate in the best possible way. So you need to ensure that this part is really good. All the numbers that you give, 100 queries, 40%, 3x, MSE of 0.13, whatever numbers you give is really, really important. They will look at this. All the GitHub links that you provide at the end, these are the things that they will look at, right? So you need to have this these things ready, they will be clicking on this GitHub link. It will go to some, basically it will take you, it will take them to your GitHub profile. You need to ensure that the GitHub link is active, it's not broken, or the repository is not private. These kind of things you need to ensure. They will also look at these kind of papers. I have highlighted just one. But yeah, they will look at the conference, the paper that you have published, and these kind of things. Okay, so this is really important to understand. Now let us come back to uh, our presentation. Yeah, so this is really important. You need to target each and every part of your resume. And yeah, you might have realized that although different people are looking at different sections, each and every section is being seen by some or the other person. So each and every part of your resume needs to be top notch. And let us see how we can make it top notch. So some of the formatting questions that I encounter a lot: should I bold? Should I bold the some words in between? Um, so people try to. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah. So some people try to bold some of the text in their description. That could be like, let's assume I bold this keyword, I bold 3x, I use llama 3.2 vision model, whatever. Okay, so some people prefer to bold, some people don't prefer to bold. I have asked these questions to a lot of recruiters from Sony, I recall, and a lot of other recruiters from big companies in the career fair at my university. I got very mixed response, and previously I used to bold my text in between, because some people say that it makes it easier for them to identify the keywords. It takes very less time for them to read it through very quickly. But others say that it feels like unnecessary speed breakers. While you are reading a line, it feels as if again there's a bold word, like it's full of a lot of bold words, so it doesn't feel very easy to read through your points, right? So there are mixed reactions to this. The key point here is that it depends on you. You can just try, have a trial and error. I did the same. I felt that not having bold words, it makes my resume look very neat. There will be one section, like section heading, and then in the inside there will be just a few words, like a like clear description with no keywords, right? So that is what I prefer. Again, it's open to interpretation which section to keep first. Now, this is important. So, depending upon your role, if you are applying for an internship or an entry level role, I think education should be the first um, section, because it lets them know that you are occupied, you are studying somewhere, and you are eligible for internship or entry level roles. So you need to give this information out front. Okay, and yeah, uh, also if you see that the education is followed by experience and projects and skills, so that is what I prefer. A lot of people prefer to have the skills on the top just after the education. I personally don't prefer that. Reason being, it's like saying, see, I know ABC, I know PQR, I know XYZ, whatever, I know these many things, and they are like, okay, how do I trust? So they will any which way have to go down, right? But if you look at this format, it's like, I studied here, I did so many, I have so much of experience, I did so many projects, and by doing all these things, finally I have gained these skills. So this sounds and this feels very intuitive to me, as well as a lot of other recruiters with whom I talk to. And this is something that I would suggest. For experience roles, the story is a little different. They are not very much keen on your current education because they want a lot of experience, right? So as soon as they open your resume, it shouldn't be like, I'm still a student, and I'm studying XY at XYZ place, right? It won't create the best impression. Rather, what you should do is you should have the experience section, and then the project section, and then the education section. By this, they will get to see the most relevant information out front right in the beginning. They won't have to waste a lot of time, and their attention will not get lost in between. Okay, so this is my suggestion. And by other, I mean you can have other sections. I have this section, publications, because I have published a few papers. But you folks can have other sections as well, some leadership things like 1 2 lines, or some extra activities that you have done. Yeah, that being said, it shouldn't be like I was the cricket captain, like captain of my cricket team. Yeah, although it is good, it shows something like you have leadership skills, but it is like far away from the role, right? So it takes away the credibility. You would want to utilize each and every line and each and every space available in your resume to make it look relevant and useful, right? You need to catch all the keywords, and you need to show that you have done a lot of good things, so you wouldn't want to waste your time there. The next thing is that yeah, formatting and font. So I get to see a lot of people um, talking about font. It should be like this, the color should be like this specifically, and all. Yeah, that's very true. So let's assume I have built an ATS system, and you have in your resume you have a few like you are using a font which is not recognized by my ATS system. You are using a non-standard font like 10.7 something, 7.5 or 7.3, 7.2, which are like non-standard numbers, right? So maybe the ATS may not be able to parse this information and get it out for the recruiter. Okay, so you need to ensure that your font is standard. I think I used 10.5 here, I used 11 here, and I think it was again 11 or 12 something here. So these are standard numbers. You should use those numbers, as well as the color. So I have seen folks having different colors in their resume. Some prefer complete black color start to end. That's good. I prefer having blue color because it helps segregating the sections very clearly as a if you look at my resume at a very high level, you will be able to differentiate all the sections very well. So that's the reason I prefer having two different colors. And if you look at very closely, or if you try to make some judgment, you'll realize that this text is black in color, whereas this text here is somewhat grayish in color. You will not get to feel it so well, but if you look at the resume from a distant view, you can see the clear distinction that this text feels a little light and this feels a little darker, and it helps the viewer to catch these words quicker as compared to if I have this all in black, it will be a little more difficult. So you need to take in a lot of minor efforts, okay, to make it easy, really easy for the recruiter or the hiring manager to be able to parse through your resume and find the relevant information as soon as possible. Okay, so yeah, that is important. Yeah, spacing is also important. So I have used standard spacing. The space between these two paragraphs and these two things are all constant throughout from the start till the end. You should also ensure that the left to right and the top to bottom spacing is also intact, because in many of the cases, if this is not constant, then again you will face a lot of you might face some issues because the ATS may not be able to capture that information. So that's important. Don't have some weird characters which is not recognizable. The ATS system might crash, or like it may just outrightly reject your resume because it may not be able to identify that piece of those characters. So yeah, I know you folks might be having some questions, but what we can do is we can have the questions at the end, or maybe I can take a couple of questions if you guys want to have on formatting. No questions?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, tell me.
Hello. Hi, Vivek.
Yeah,
Thank you. Uh, so I had one question.
yeah.
So should we add the summary section at the top of your resume or no?
Yeah. So yeah, even this is a good point. I think it depends on the type of role you are applying. So for me, I think for software roles, AI, ML, these kind of roles, that is not going to create a lot of difference, right? That is not going to create a lot of difference because you want to utilize the space to capture a lot of other important information. But let's assume there's a niche startup, very good startup, okay? Or maybe you are applying at OpenAI, let's assume, which is a very good company. It's an expanding company and they have ample of applications. So when they have a lot of skilled candidates, the summary section plays a good role on identifying what is the true intent of this candidate. So the folks who have applied for masters here in the US, they know the importance of a statement of purpose, right? Because each and every candidate has like 9 GPA, really good resume, and everything else. So how will they differentiate? They want the students who are truly motivated. So the similar effect is created by the summary section here. I don't think so. It is important for most of the companies out there, but some very niche companies it is important. Also it depends on the role that you are applying. I have a lot of my friends studying business analytics and MBA, so for them it is really important because that shows their true intent. Okay, and that piece of information is helpful for them. For us, or maybe for folks in core tech, I don't think so it's that important. Does that answer
Oh,
your question?
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any like one more question and then I can proceed ahead. Fine
I
then.
think you have used
Yeah.
Times Roman font. So
Yeah.
is there any specific fonts that is required? Because I'm using some other font. So is it like
Yeah.
really matter?
See, it doesn't matter a lot if you are selecting a standard format from MS Word, Microsoft Word, or LaTeX, whatever. So till the time you are using a standard format, you are good to go. There's no necessity to follow any standard format. Again, some fonts don't look very professional. I was using Arial or something else, I believe, but it did not look very professional to me. It was nearly professional, but not exactly professional. So I just shifted to Times New Roman, and yeah, you have got a very good sight or vision to identify that it was Times New Roman. So yeah, good. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
you have mentioned your master's, but I don't think you mentioned your undergrad. Is it like okay to that?
Yeah. So I was asked the same question in my last session as well. Mentioning master's degree is enough. Why? Because I'll tell in the later slides why is it important, why the first piece, like first heading that you put under every section is the most important and others are very less important. So since masters is your most recent education that you might be doing, that is the key thing that they want to check. You have done your undergrad in some other field that may be relevant. So if let's say, so see, I have done my undergrad in electronics and telecommunication. If I put that information here, it's not gonna add any value, right? Because I am applying for software roles, or maybe it will add very less value. Probably it won't. So it's not necessary for me to put that information. If in case I would have done my undergrad in computer science or AI or some these kind of things, and I have done some crazy stuffs, that I will definitely put it there. And let's assume if I apply to some hardware companies. So while I applied for Qualcomm, my resume had both the degrees. My current degree, master's in machine learning and data science, and undergrad in electronics and telecommunications. Why? Because for that particular role, it does help me. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Fine, then I'll go ahead. Definitely at the end, we'll have a lot of other questions. But this was the end of the formatting section. Now we'll be entering into the headings. So, yeah, here you can see that let's assume this is your resume. This is your experience section. You have these three experiences. This is your projects section, and you have these three projects. So the thing is, the first experience or the first project, or for that matter the first education heading that you are putting, is the most important. It has nearly 70% weightage on whether your profile should go ahead or not. And not just that, I'll talk in detail about this during my next to next session as well, the interview session. Your major part of your interview is going to be on these two things only. You'll be surprised to see how the later parts will be completely or nearly ignored. So you need to have really, really good command grasp on the first experience and first project. You need to spend a lot of time in crafting that. Why? Because if you look at this, it's a psychological thing, right? So as you grow, you will be working, you are getting smarter, you are getting more wiser, and you are like going into more depth in a particular technology or in a particular domain, right? So the most recent project that you'll be doing, or the most recent work that you'll be doing, will be the best work. It's like very intuitive, and that is what they want to do. They don't want to see what did you do 5 years back or 6 years back or 2 3 years back, for that matter. They want to see where have you reached now, what kind of ability do you have now, because I'll be hiring you now. I won't go back in time and hire you back then, right? So the first section is the most important. The first heading, may it be your experience section, may it be your project section, it is the most important. Let's assume I am applying for an agentic AI role, and if I put this project as my first project, self-driving vehicle, I have used computer vision, it's not going to help at all. Okay. Whereas if I put this project, agentic AI and tutor chatbot, it is definitely going to help me a lot, because it is catching the eyes of the recruiter, the hiring manager, as well as the ATS. It's doing a really good job. So the first experience is really, really important. I know I might have repeated this line a lot of times, but you'll be really amazed to see how skewed this proportion is during the interviews, and also during this hiring. I'll give you one more example. While I was applying for full-time roles, uh, every time I used to have this part, machine learning engineer internship, I used to put this as my first experience. I used to get a lot of calls from the medical companies. Okay, Eli Lilly, Alkermes, and other medical companies. And every time I used to put some agentic AI project here, or like my machine learning project here. This project that I basically the work that I did with my professor as my first experience. I used to get calls from Tesla and other software based companies. So it is that effective, that is magical, right? So you would want to spend a lot of your time on your first experience and first project. Now, that being said, uh, what difference does the recent work create and experience create? If you have done some recent work, by recent work, I mean if agentic AI, MCP servers, and those kind of things are trending now, I call it recent work. Um, and if you have work experience, 2 3 years of work experience, anyway, someone's mic is on. Can you please switch it off? Thank you. So yeah, if you have done some work experience, this is your section. If you have done both, your resume is really good. If you have work experience, but if you have not done any recent work, your preference goes a little lower. If you have done recent work, but if you don't have a lot of work experience, your preference goes a little lower. But if you have done nothing, no recent work and no experience, you're gone. Basically, there's no way your resume can stand out among a lot of people and the big crowd out there. Okay. So yeah, the key point to remember here is most recent work corresponds to your current skills and ability. By the most recent work, they will want they want to look at your current ability and your current skills. Whereas the past experiences that you have, the projects that you have done in your past, shows the seniority that you have in the field. So if there's a candidate who has very good, rich 4 to 5 years of work experience, and and they apply for a role, the candidate will be seen as a better candidate as compared to a person with no job experience. Why? Because they have seen the transition of the field, maybe software engineering or whatever, or AI/ML or whatever. So seniority helps there. But again, if you don't have work experience, you need not worry about it. I have seen a lot of my friends who came here in the US with zero work experience. They did their masters with a few internships, and they were very good to go with the job application and the job search. And they also got very good work because they are seen as fresh minds, and they are seen as folks who have done very good recent work. So that definitely helps them, helps the recruiters and the hiring managers to hire them as fresh minds and shape them the way they want. So yeah, that's the trade-off. That's the thing that we learn from here. Now, going to the next part, how many versions of resume to keep? This is one of my favorite parts. Why? Because any random guess how many versions of resume should we have? Any random guess?
4 to 5.
Okay, 4 to 5. First guess.
Depends on how many roles we're applying. Like,
Yeah, that's a very good thing. But any random guess?
I think it depends on the company that you're applying for.
Yeah, very true. So it depends on the company and also very importantly the domain. Okay, so on the the columns, in the columns I have the industry or the domain, big tech, semiconductor, healthcare, and here in the rows I have domains like data, machine learning, AI, software. If I am targeting these kind of roles, I have it written here. So that makes 3 into 4 equals to 12. I had nearly 12, 13, 12 to 13 different versions. I can just show it to you guys. Yeah, and I had a dedicated folder where I used to keep all of this. I don't think so. I'm able to show it to you. Anyways, so I had these many versions. It is really important to have these many versions. Why? Because the job market is really difficult these days. Okay, it's not impossible, and eventually you will get a job. But the better you prepare yourself, and the sooner you prepare yourself, the earlier you'll get a job. That is the key thing here. So the need to have these many resumes is to appropriately target the type of roles and stand out as compared to other candidates for a particular role. If there's a new role opened, if other folks are applying with their generic resume, which may or may not be 100% relevant, it is like probabilistic in nature. They have projects from healthcare, they have projects from semiconductor, they have projects from finance and whatsoever, and other domains. Whereas if you have curated your resume that particularly targets the healthcare domain or the semiconductor domain, then definitely your resume is going to stand out and it will be better than other resumes. So this is a key thing to do. I did this. I had these many resumes and this helped me like this. So these are the companies from which I got an interview, and I was able to interview with these companies through my these resumes, which was targeted in nature. So let's take some examples. Tesla, they had some agentic AI role. I applied with my AI resume wherein I targeted big tech. I did not put unnecessary semiconductor information there or healthcare information there, and I highlighted all my agentic AI projects. I got a call from Tesla. Similarly, for Qualcomm, I put my AI projects on the top, and I also mentioned my undergrad in electronics and telecommunication. I also mentioned a few projects on CUDA programming or GPU programming, those kind of things. And in combination, it worked out really well for me to get an interview from Qualcomm. Why? Because it was a very specific resume. So yeah, see, so these are the types of resume I had, and I had applied to these companies in a very specific manner, and it helped me a lot. Okay. You may also have a version that highlights the software skills. So let me go to my resume. Even if I talk about this, okay, so let's assume this is the experience that I have. If I want to make this resume or this experience more inclined towards machine learning, I will highlight this part. I will maybe take 2 3 lines to explain in detail how did I do fine tuning, how did I do model inference, and these kind of things. If I want to switch, like incline it more towards software engineering, then I will talk about API calls. How did I create endpoints? How did I create this WebSocket and these kind of things, right? How did I scale it and these kind of things. So it depends on you, and you should take command of each and every section. Um, and mold it in different ways. In addition to that, you should always play around your projects and keep the most relevant project on the top. If you are applying for a company, let's assume Tesla or that kind of company, where autonomous driving and these kind of things are important, then you may want to have your computer vision project on the top. I had one, so I'm giving this example. Depends. A lot of folks work come from the finance background. If they have done good things there, then you can just have that as well on the top. That section on the top will create a lot more value. So this is how it helped me. And the things that I learned was, you need to give um, different versions of resume will be helpful in targeting different types of roles. For specified roles, use specific resume, and for all the other roles, use generic resume. So see, this is the generic resume that I'm talking about now. You need to have a generic resume as well, which will have the best from everything. It will have your best healthcare project, it will have your best project from your different domains, data, AI, ML, software, whatever. And it will also maybe have your best semiconductor project. But if the semiconductor project is not very good, then you may exclude that in your generic resume. Okay, your generic resume is the resume that you need to keep it ready with you in the printed format. That is like your yeah, it's like your advertisement. You're advertising the skills that you can provide. You always need to have the pamphlet. If you go to a shopping mall, you look at a lot of products. If you don't see the product description, will you buy it? Probably you won't, right? Why? Because there's no description. I'm not sure whether it's good enough or not. It may claim that it is the best, but where's the credibility? So you need to always have your resume with you. I used to keep it in my bag, printed resume, 6 7 resumes. Whenever I used to communicate with people, and if I found that they can help me out, then I used to share my resume with them. I also uploaded my resume uh, my on my Google Drive, and I just created a shareable link, and I have it on my LinkedIn, which is really helpful for the recruiters to have a look at. They won't have to wait and ask me for my resume. They can just straight away go and look at my resume. I'm making things easy for them. And that's how you should also do. Everyone should do, make things easy for them to access all the information. If you are not a good fit for their role, or if they need something else, they are not going to hire you. Basic and other way around, you won't even feel good to work for them. Why? Because it's misaligning, right? Your skills or your wantings are different from their requirements. So to create relevance, it's really easy to have each and every information ready and available for the recruiters, so that they can see if there is relevance, go ahead, or else just move on. Okay. Now, how should I include non-aligned work experience? So, I'll just quickly go back a lot to show my journey. So this is my journey. I started with a bachelor's in electronics and telecommunication, which is nowhere related to what I am doing currently, right? And then I worked at senior data engineer, which is again somewhat related, but very less related to AI, ML, machine learning things that I am doing now. The software engineering role that I am currently working at. So how did I transition? I transitioned like this. I did an internship, I did my master's, and now I'm working as a software engineer. But should I put this information, software engineer, um, because I have worked there for 1 year, 10 months, nearly 2 years, which is like a big thing, right? If I don't put this information, it will look like a gap. And I want to put this information because I have worked there really well. So how do I put that information is something that I'll show. So let's look at this. Senior data engineer, LTI Mindtree, Mumbai, India, whatever. Now, even if I am applying to a machine learning role, let's assume I am applying to a machine learning or a software role, I can have these kind of information. So the green tags are some software related information that I have put here. System, fast API backed React dashboard, and scaling, AWS auto scaling, monitoring, CloudWatch, these kind of things I've highlighted. Although, even if I would have spent 90% of my time building an ETL pipeline and using Spark, dealing with data cleaning, and those kind of things, that's fine. But since the role demands software engineering or machine learning engineering, I will put that information here as a highlight. Is that clear? And these are the machine learning things. So training, XGBoost model, it's a very basic model, and probably not a lot of folks learn about that model these days. Um, unless and until you realize that the task that you have is really easy, and you don't need a big large language model for this. So yeah, or you need to have greater visibility in your model, then you will use XGBoost. Again, coming back, so I have put some basic ML related things here, right? Yeah, so yeah, this is the thing that I wanted to highlight here. Software related things I have put, ML related things I have put, and data related things I have highlighted in blue. So that is how you can mold a little and put forth the information in the best possible way out there. And yeah, the points to remember try your best to pick only the relevant content which is relevant to the current job role or the job description. And it may, yeah, there are a lot of hidden things, transferable skills that the recruiter can look at while they are looking at your experience. So even if senior data engineer is not directly related with AI engineer role or software engineer role, they are still able to see a lot of things. 20K data, 10 million plus transactions, data warehouse, CloudWatch, uh, like basic AWS services. And I have worked for 2 years at LTI Mindtree, which is a good company. So these kind of things are highlighted, right? And the recruiter gets to see that, okay, the person has done so many good things and the person has worked at that level. So that is a good thing. That's a plus. There are hidden information. You should never miss out on this part. You should mention your work experience in a smart manner, in a good manner, and it will definitely work out well for you, because you are very less likely to have any questions from this front, very less likely, because most of the questions will be from the first experience or the most recent experience that you put in your resume. Got it? Yeah, so this was the end of the headings section. Any questions on this? I will take two questions and then we can move to the next section, which is content, wherein I'll be talking about how do you write each and every line. So yeah, heading section. Any questions so far?
The way you told you need to mention the work experience according to the job description. For example, I'm applying to a manufacturer engineer job, and I do have experience in supply chain as well.
Yeah.
So, do you mean that I should put my manufacturing experience in the front and supply chain under that? Because I have supply chain experience in 2024 and
Mhm.
manufacturing in 2022.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's a very good question. So often we come across this trade-off, as in should we have the dates in the ascending order and have the most recent work on the top or the most relevant work on the top? That's a very good trade-off.
correct.
That's a important thing to consider. Again, the answer is straightforward. You need to experiment. You need to try doing both. So once you see an opening from a manufacturing company, Uh,
Mm-hmm.
try applying with the most recent work on the top. Second time, try applying with the most relevant work on the top. If you ask me, my personal suggestion will be most relevant thing on the top over the timeline. Timeline is still secondary, is what I feel.
Okay.
Because if
Mm-hmm.
the person won't see good relevance on the first part, it's
Mm-hmm.
quite likely that they are not even going to read through the other things. They will just go to the next resume or the next candidate's profile. So it's
Mm-hmm.
important to have the most relevant thing on the top, even if you have to compromise with the dates.
Okay. So a follow-up question to it. If we want to tailor our resume according to the job description, the
Yeah,
way you told
yeah,
the position which you
yeah.
applied was not really relevant to what you have done in the past.
Yeah.
So, how do you use to tailor it? And
How did I tailor it? So this was one of
yeah,
the examples that I showed. This is how I used to tailor it. Some of the other examples, I see someone raising their hand. I'll let you answer, ask the next question.
sure, no problem, no problem.
No, no. I'll answer your question and then I'll ask the
Okay, okay, okay.
that's a question. So yeah, how I used to tailor my experience
Mm-hmm.
or my content. I used to highlight that part. If I am talking about AI engineering, if I'm applying for AI engineering, right? So I will have these words: agentic AI, lang graph, lang chain, these kind of things a lot. I'll talk about these things more. If I'm applying for machine learning engineer role, then I'll highlight this project, which is like core machine learning based project. I'll put this project on the top. I'll increase the number of points from 3 to 5, and then reduce the number of points, 5 points here to 3 points, for because agentic AI will be less important there, because they want to know how will I be able to build a model, train a model, those kind of things, right? So I'll highlight that piece of information, have more points on that, elaborate on that part, and that's how I generally do it. Two things
Yeah.
within the content. I will elaborate more on that part, and I will also
Mm-hmm.
switch the sequence or order.
Yeah, this is understood. But I'm asking if you want to see the compatibility of your resume and the job description. Do you use any AI tool
Yeah, yeah,
for
I'll
it?
be talking about it sometime.
Okay, sure. Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Thank
there
you so
in the
much.
later part.
Yeah,
So
yeah, got it, got it. Thank you.
yep, guys, I think someone raised their hand if they can ask me the question.
Yeah. Hi, Vivek.
Yeah, hi.
Like, I have a question. So, when applying, for example, for the software engineering role itself,
Yeah.
like, there are five different jobs, you think, like in five different companies for the software engineering role.
Okay.
You said that create a general purpose resume, right? To
Yeah,
apply
you
for
should
that.
also have a general purpose resume along with the specifics.
Yeah, like, how are you gonna decide, like, whether should I apply for with general purpose or should I tailor my resume? Like, how are you gonna take the decision?
Yeah, so it's really, really an important question, and I don't want to give just 1 or 2 line answer to
Yeah.
this, because it needs a lot of strategy explanation, which I'll be doing in my applications part of my video or
Okay.
webinar. So there I will be explaining it in much more detail. If you want a 1 line answer to this, I have a strategy wherein I consider a few companies separately and do mass application separately. I use general purpose resume for the mass and use the specifics for these curated companies and their roles. And how do I distinguish between these two? I'll be explaining it in detail in the next one, because it will take some time and I don't even have some visuals. So it will be better if you
Yeah.
come to that session.
Okay, sure. And even the last out,
Yeah, yeah.
like some people will tell like no need to apply 50 to 60 applications every day. Some people will tell just focus on like 10, make your resume best as possible and apply to only those 10. Like what would be your suggestion?
Both, do both. I know it doesn't sound practical. It's like 50, 60
Yeah,
plus more 10. That's like not humanly possible.
yes.
But I have a very good strategy. You won't have to do 50 applications plus 10 applications. I have a strategy that I'll be talking about in the next session. So again, even this question goes there. I do understand
Okay.
that is the key part, but
Yes. Yes.
see, if you have an amazing resume, I have a few friends. What they do, right? What they do is they have a very curated resume. They spend most of their time in building a very good resume. They reach out
Mhm.
or they apply for very few roles. They get a call back from that from them. I also have
Okay.
like other set of friends who just do chat gpt, who they give the prompt, they give their resume, and they ask that like make it suitable for this role. They get the entire resume ready from chat gpt, they apply it, and they do get calls. Okay, not a lot, but
Yeah.
they do get calls. What's the difference between them? Both the strategies work, right? So, do
Yes.
you have to be in the extremes? My answer is no, you don't have to be in the extremes. You need to take the best part of this and the best part of this. How? I'll tell in the next section. But yeah, both the things work. It's your personal choice, which one where do you want to place yourself from this extreme to this extreme. I'll be talking in detail later in the next.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the next one. Content. Again, it's getting more and more deeper, right? We are getting into the more specifics, and let us see the star method versus the summary point approach. The star method. I think all of you might be knowing about the star method. If you don't, it's very basic but very very crucial. Situation, task, approach, and result. Why star method? Why star method? Is there a compulsion? I just went through the guidance that Google provided to apply to those to their roles. I think Meta and Microsoft as well. They have outrightly told that you should have this star approach. Why star approach? Because it is very natural, right? Assume that you are trying to explain your current work to your friend whom you met after a lot of days or years. What will you tell? Okay, so the thing is, I am working at this company and my project is like this. So you see, there's this gaming domain, and in this gaming domain, we are trying to enhance this gaming domain by building a meta human. And so the natural question will be, uh, how are you building this meta human? Then you will tell your approach. I am building this using LangGraph and 11 labs, let's assume, whatever. And then the natural question is, okay, you are using these two tools, but how are you using this? Then the natural answer is description. And finally, okay, so you used these techniques, but how did it result? Then you will tell about the results. So it is a very intuitive way to answer or describe a particular story or work in a very intuitive manner. They get the answers of all their questions that is there in their head if you answer or have this star approach in your responses. Okay. So the first thing is situation. Situation is like, what is it all about? Enhancing game experience. That is the situation. That is something that we are trying to do. The current situation is. So second is task. So what exactly is the task? How are you meeting this situation? So by building an agentic AI avatar, okay, by using LangGraph and Level Labs, whatever. So that is the task, and then approach is diving deeper into the details, and finally it's about the results. What exact results did you get? Finally, I was able to deliver a synchronized facial automation replies, audio and facial animation replies, and xyz, whatever it is. Okay, so following the star approach is the true gold. Believe me, I used to spend nearly 4 to 5 hours, and I think even more sometimes, and that too every week on my first experience and my first project, just to play around with the words a little, trying to convey the information in a little better way. It is that rewarding in return. I see someone raising their hand. Yeah. Smith, any questions?
Regarding the result, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask, so do you mention the percentage or the amount you maybe some cost analysis or cost efficiency
Mhm.
by XYZ dollar, something like that?
See,
What is the best strategy?
it totally depends. It totally depends. It's a good question, but just think about it. So when you want to say my model is giving, um, I utilized XYZ technique which improved the model performance from some percentage to other percentage. So in this example, percentage is the correct metric, right? You improved by some percentage. So here, if you just say improved by, my model is now giving uh, 5 correct responses, and previously it used to give,
Mhm.
right? So it won't be the best thing. You cannot just say
Right.
it's giving 5 more correct responses. It should be percentage in this case. Whereas let's assume you made a solution for a scalable solution. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you want to show that my website or my XYZ is being used by these many people. So here it doesn't make a lot of sense to say it is being used by 3% of the population of the US or whatever.
Right, right.
It may
Correct.
be, but again, the correct metric is it is being used by like 2,000 people, 3,000 people, or whatever. So it depends. It depends, and you should in fact play around with that. Play around with
Got it.
different terms.
Yes, understood.
Yeah.
Thanks. For
So yeah, this is the star method. The other method is summary point method. Okay, so this is my friend's resume, and he has used the summary point approach, wherein given a particular job role or any project, generally it is applicable for experiences. So let's assume you worked at a particular company and you did a lot of things. Okay, you did a lot of things. Or maybe you worked for 3 4 years and you did not work on a single project. You worked on a lot of things. There, this is very intuitive. Why? Because you did data modeling. What did you do in data modeling? You just write it down. You did product strategy. What did you do in product strategy? You write it down, and same KPI and reporting, whatever. So the thing is, you just point out the keywords or the key things that you have done. This is the first approach is more like a story. The second approach is more like, okay, you want this information, see, I'm giving this information out front. I did You wanted to check, am I good at data modeling? I have done this. You wanted to see if I'm good at KPI and reporting? See, I have done this. So that's how these two strategies differ. Again, it's a personal choice which one you are more comfortable with, and I'll tell why you should have your own design your own resume in the later part. But this choice is yours. You can experiment or stick to one. Yeah, Smith.
I'm sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But regarding the star method you told,
Yeah.
so is the XYZ method of Google also relevant? I mean,
Yeah.
similar to this?
That's the next thing. I think you are predicting a lot of my slides.
Sorry, my
Which
bad.
model are you
Okay.
using for this prediction?
Nothing, nothing, bro.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, next thing is how to frame points. The XYZ uh, technique, which is like achieved X by doing Y using Z. Okay, this is very intuitive. Then this is very good. Why? Because it gives a natural it gives a natural way to describe a particular thing. They are not concerned about, like the companies at a very high level, especially the managers, they are not concerned about what you did. I can say that I built an agentic AI solution and I spent like 3 months on it. I did this and I did that. Okay, but what value did it produce towards the end? That is what is their concern is. Okay, their main concern is. So you should start with um, achieved X, your accomplishment. That should be the first thing. Okay, for example, enhanced gaming experience. So that is something that I achieved at the end. By doing what? By building an interacting AI avatar companion, AI companion, agentic AI I have used, right? So this is I did. And what did you use for this? I used these tools. So this is another intuitive way to describe a point. The natural question whenever someone asks you about your project is, what did you achieve or what did you build? I did this. How did you do by doing this? And what all things did you use? I use these things. So this is very intuitive. You must follow this. I know practically it is really, really difficult and at times impossible to follow this structure for each and every point in my experience and my project. But yeah, you don't have to be, I think you have to be a perfectionist, but you need not follow this template exactly as it is. Sometimes it's fine, but if most of your points are in this particular approach, for them it becomes really easy to read. Okay, first line I read, it is in this format. Next, when I go to the next line, it is same this format. When I go to the third line, I know that the person is following this approach. So the initial part will be the accomplishment, the achievement. The second part will be the exact thing that it did. And the last part will be the things or the tools that the person used. So let's assume I just want to look at the tools. So I will just look at the end part. I just want to look at the technology and expertise that the person has. I will look at the center part. I will look at the level of value that the person has created. I will look at the first part. You see the difference, right? That's important. Yeah. Someone raised their hand.
Yes, Vivek.
Yeah.
So I have made my resume like
Yeah.
most of the points in a 2 line. So if I
Yeah.
have 4 points, it's consuming 8 lines. Does that look clumsy, or is it good to have a better approach, like having just 1 line, like how you
See,
have?
there are a few standard practices. Some people say you shouldn't have more than 3 4 points. I have 5 points. It works out really well for me. Why? Because all of my points are one liners. If you see, none
Yeah.
of the point has exceeded a one line. So I take a
Mhm.
lot of effort in providing good information in just one line. So that being said, the overall number of lines shouldn't exceed five is what I have um, learnt over the application phase. So the number of lines should be just limited to five, not more than that. A little lesser than that is still okay, but it shouldn't be just one single line. It should have at least two lines. And if you follow the strategy of 1 point per line, then 5 points. If your points are going to the next line, then your number of points will reduce, but the total number of lines should be less than five and more than two. That looks neat. And okay, one more thing. So it shouldn't be like you just used one big chunk, one single point here, or like 2 points
Like
consuming
a
five lines,
paragraph. Yeah.
and then having points here, like small points here, and then a paragraph here. It shouldn't be like that. It should look symmetric and it should look appealing in the first go, right? Only then the recruiter or the hiring manager will feel like reading through your resume. So decoration is really important.
Yeah. And one more question I had was, in my resume, I had my university. It's like a technical assistant where I get to
Yeah,
work on front desk job, something like that,
yeah,
in a tech hub. So I added that, which is like very irrelevant to the roles which I apply. Should I
yeah,
put that, or should I like remove?
yeah. As I said, it's
I mean, I know you gave me the example before,
yeah,
but this is very unrelated. So I'm just wondering if I have to,
it's
like, I
totally
can't
unrelated.
modify it also.
Yeah, it's totally unrelated. If there's no way you can put forth that information, then you might consider avoiding it. That being said, you can always put that information here in this part because that shows that somebody, your professor, trusted you on your skills, and then you can put it here. One good thing that I recommend to a lot of my friends is that if you think that your teaching assistantship or whatever role that it was, if it is worth mentioning, although it is irrelevant, then you can put it below this part. So as I've mentioned courses, I can write activities and then I will write that I was a teaching assistant for this role, whatever. If you think it is really important, because the initial part is like very, very important, right? The initial part is really important. Or maybe you can have another section and keep it here. Is that good?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, Prasanna.
Yeah, hi Vivek. Actually,
Right.
can we have a two-page resume?
Oh, that's a good question. Thanks for bringing this up because a lot of yeah, it's a very hot question and it was really important for me to address this. Can we have a two-page resume? Yes, you can. There's no one stopping you from that. The important thing is that if you know how much time do recruiters or hiring managers spend on every resume, how much time? It's just 7 to 10 seconds. That's like super, super, super less. Do you think if you provide a two-page resume, you will be able to catch the eye of the recruiter or the hiring manager on the right things. If you think you can, go ahead with this. Moreover, if you think you have all of your projects and your experience is super good and you cannot remove that, it's like super important, then you can have a two-page resume, have each and everything. But if you think some of the projects are more important than the other ones, and um, and you can like present only the top scores, then you should go ahead with that. I will just give you an example. uh, like, let's assume cricket match, or like Virat Kohli. He scores good runs in most of the matches. He scores some low scores in some of the matches. So if he wants to build a resume, he would keep the highest scores, right? Only three highest scores. Why? Because the average remains high in that case. But if he puts each and every score in the entire in his resume, the average will become a little low. So that is the key thing. Think from the strategic standpoint. Was that
Okay.
clear?
Yeah, it was clear.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think there's one more person who has raised their hand.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
So I have a question where it's related to the experience part. I'm just giving some background on me.
Yeah.
So I'm currently doing a part-time in Arizona State University, like, along with my studies.
Mhm.
Now, should that go first, in the experience, or I also worked as a network engineer for Oracle. So should that go first? Because like, should it be in the chronological order, or from the earliest to latest, or latest to earliest? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think I talked about this exact uh, thing a few moments back. But if you missed it, uh, it should be most relevant content on the top. Okay, but I,
Mm-hmm.
I think I think you are asking me that Oracle is a big company, but the work may
Yeah,
not be that relevant. Whereas here the work is relevant, but it's not a big role. Is that what your question?
yeah,
I get it.
yep, yep.
It's a very good point. It's a very good thing to like point to consider. What I used to do is I used to ask my professor and I used to ask my department UCSD that can I put AI engineer role for the research work that I'm doing with you, because I'm getting paid. My fees is getting waived off. It's a very good project. Our project is being published and everything else. So can I put AI engineer tag? If my professor or the person with whom I'm working, if they agree with that, I can put a good title at least. Okay, it need
Mm-hmm.
not be a part time or something. I will put a good title and I will put the name of the university next to it. So that gives a
Yeah,
credibility, right? That gives a
yeah,
credibility. If Oracle is a big
yeah.
thing, UCSD is a big thing as well, or maybe even bigger thing. Both the things are like equally big. So that's how it
Mm-hmm.
is. That's how you should play around and be a little tactical on that front. Is that good?
All right. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, should I use ChatGPT for resume is the next thing I wanted to discuss. Please don't. Please don't, because it takes me nearly uh, 3 seconds to identify which line is generated by ChatGPT and which lines are not generated by ChatGPT. And I, being a normal person, I don't review a lot of resumes on everyday basis. So just understand that recruiters and hiring managers will be easily able to identify that the response is generated by ChatGPT. Some of the things that ChatGPT or other LLMs do is that they add comma. I achieved XYZ, or I did ABC by doing whatever. Maybe I missed a little. So yeah, let's assume this point. Enhancing game experience by building an interactive AI avatar companion. And what ChatGPT will do is comma using whatever. So there are some things, or maybe nowadays ChatGPT has started using hyphens a lot. So they will use hyphen instead of doing by, instead of using by, or some of these things. For me, it is really easy to identify. So it's recommended not to use. Um, the second thing is that it doesn't really follow the star approach and XYZ rule nicely. After a while, it will just start generating it not in a very great manner. Even if you give this prompt that follow the star approach, use XYZ, it still doesn't do a really good job. I have never ever used ChatGPT for my resumes. What I used to do is initial, uh, like the very initial thing or draft, I used to get from ChatGPT. For example, I have done, I just list down 10 to 12 points that I have done these things in this project. How can I compile it all? I used to get a very simple um, output, and then the next 4 to 5 hours I used to invest by my own. Okay, now again, if you want to use some synonyms, some adjectives, some those kind of things, you can use it. But for framing, I don't think so ChatGPT or any other LLM should be trusted. uh, Okay, and when you make your own lines, yeah, this is really important, very, very important. When you make your own lines, it is really easy for you to remember it. Why? Because you have written it, and you will be able to talk very, very well uh, on those points during the interviews. So it's very important for you to make your own resume and write your own points. You will be able to remember it really well. Yeah, key tips. Before going to the key tips, I think on content we did have a lot of questions. I'll just dive into the key tips. Some of the key tips that I would like to give is make this word map. How do you make this word map? Firstly, select the top 10, 20 job roles that in which you want to apply. It can be your dream companies and dream roles. Just copy paste all the job description, paste it in a Word document, convert it into a PDF, upload it to ChatGPT, Gemini, or whichever model you prefer. Ask them to generate a word map or count the frequencies of the keywords, and then have a word map like this. Again, the spelling is wrong, anyways. So yeah, the thing is, once you have this word map ready, then you can start putting those things in the skills section. Again, nobody is so such a professional person that each and every that the person will be perfectly awesome in Python as well as C++, Java, and everything else, right? But even if you have somewhat idea, you can write there in the skills section. The most important will be the language in which you are the best will be the first and followed by the others. So that is how you can write these things down. Again, depending upon the type of role you are applying to, you can alter the positions. So if I want to apply for a software engineer role, I will have my skill section like this. If I want to apply for data engineer role, I will just swap the databases and put this on the top, put the other stuffs below. And yeah, I think I did not talk much about the skill section, but I see people having very generic skill section and very 2 3 lines, like very basic. That is not preferred. This is the part where you can have a lot of keywords and let it get captured through the ATS. So I divided this part into different things like programming, frameworks, generative AI, databases, cloud and web. Maybe down the line, I will change this generative AI and write agentic AI tools, because that is how the software engineering is moving towards, right? So I will write here generative AI tools, or maybe agentic AI tools. That's how I will frame this. So these are the things that you should look at. If there are a few sections in your job description, you would want to rename it to catch the eye of the recruiter and hiring managers. So this was one of the key tips. The other key tip is how to score your resume and get the feedbacks. Okay, so these are the two links that two websites that I used to use to get my scoring. So, for example, this is one resume worded is what it's called. It's free of cost. You can upload your resume, and once you upload you can just log in, upload your resume. It will give you a raw score. If you and it will also tell you about the how good impact is your resume creating, and other style skills and other things. It will score you. For me, I think I used to always target getting a score above 75. Above 80 is like really good, and above 90 is like near perfect. So this was one of the sites. The other was this. Again, this is the Qualcomm's career page. But the key thing here is that if you can notice here, 8fold.ai is the one who has provided this page. So there are, I think, Micron and other companies as well who follow their strategy, their this particular provider. So in this, what you can do is, if you scroll down, you can upload your resume here. I'll just try to show a demonstration. Let me see if I can. Uh, by the way, oh, sorry. So these are the resumes that I had. So these are the different versions I had. Anyways, I will pick the one of this. Let's assume I pick this. I do open, I do submit my resume. As soon as I submit my resume, it will start suggesting me and start giving me the profile matches. So you see, there's a strong match for this profile. Again, strong match for this, strong match, strong match. There are a lot of strong matches. One basic thing that you can do is, if you don't get a lot of strong matches, because you are able to see the job role, right? If you think you are a good fit for this role, but if your resume is not becoming a strong match, then it gives a clear indication that there is something off, there is something not good, right? So you need to work on your resume. I am getting a lot of strong matches, and then there comes good matches. There are a lot of good matches that I am getting. So you can gauge the relevance as well as the scoring of your resume through this. Here you also get a lot of insights. Top 15% of applications, 0 to 5 years. Mostly people applying to this role are from 0 to 5 years. So you get a comparative study as well. And see, um, yeah, again, leave it. So yeah, the key point here is that you can upload your resume, get a score, see the job role, and see why is it not a strong match, why is it not a good match, or why is it only a good match, not a strong match. These kind of things you can do. These are the two websites that I can recall. There are a few more, um, but again, it depends. If you have some more, feel free to share it. Um and I will share it with others as well, or maybe you can paste it on the chat. Okay, and this is another very important thing that I did for improving my resume every week. By the way, really important. I used to work on my resume every week, every weekend. Okay, so from Monday to Friday I used to do applications. Why? Because that is when the companies look at your resume, they open roles and stuffs, right? But on Saturdays and Sundays, those are not the days for you to chill. Or if you prefer to chill, you can, but the thing is, you'll miss out on some things, and your next week's application is going to be same as your this week's application. Whereas what I used to do is, I used to spend good amount of time on working on my resume. I used to improve it line by line, follow XYZ rule, follow star rule. These kind of things I used to do. I used to also work on my projects on weekends and put that on my resume. So how do I check whether my previous version or my current version, which version is better? There is this good way that I followed. Step one, I prepared an answer for these questions for each of my experience and projects. What are the questions? The purpose of the project, the approach used. What is the purpose of the project? What is the approach used? What are the tools and technologies used? And what's the result that I obtained? These are the questions, crucial questions. Okay, because these are the things that the recruiter or the hiring manager wants to know from your project, right? So you need to prepare these questions. You can add a few more. You need to prepare the answer to these questions um, for each and every experience or project, and you need to have it in your head or write it down somewhere. Now, the step two is ask these questions to a non-technical person. I used to give it to my one of my brothers, and I used to also send it to my friends who are not in this technical field. And I did not give them the answers. I just gave them the questions and asked them to answer these questions by reading through that paragraph. And they used to tell me, okay, I think this is the best thing. See, if you go to your friend and if you ask, how do my resume look? Or you go to your senior and ask, how do my resume look? They'll say it's good. That's what you have been hearing from a lot of your friends and your seniors and recruiters. They say it's good, but And even in the rejections, they are like, your resume is perfect, your profile is perfect, but we are looking for some other candidates. Bro, it's not perfect. That's the reason you are rejecting. Again, so uh, yeah, when you do this practice, when you practice this thing, have an answer in your head and ask the same questions to your friends. And if their answers matches, their response matches your answer, then you get a two-factor authentication sort of thing that your project description is conveying the right message. If not, then you again have to go back and work to your on your resume. The third thing is that make a prompt for ChatGPT and ask the ChatGPT to act like a non-technical recruiter or hiring manager or technical recruiter, whatever technical member, and then make the ChatGPT answer these questions. But over the years, I have realized that ChatGPT has become really awesome and it will be able to answer most of the questions. So I think step two is really crucial. The step four is their responses should match. Yeah, again, it should match. If it doesn't match, go back and reiterate on your resume. I have seen myself and a lot of my friends falling in this trap, which is a common indication that you are going wrong is when you feel the need to explain. So when you get a response from them, and then if you have to explain them, bro, transformer doesn't mean electronics transformer, it means machine learning transformer. Or I have basically, if you feel the need to provide any additional information to make them understand your project, you won't get this chance when you send your resume to a recruiter or your hiring manager, right? Because if they got confused, if they extracted wrong information, you lose it, right? So this is one of the common indications. The moment you feel that you need to give more context, you are going wrong. Yeah, Anish.
Yes, Vivek. So that was clear with many things, but one more thing I had was in your project section, you didn't mention the timeline. I mean, the time span you spent on each project. Is it required or is it not required?
Yeah, I don't think so it's
I mean,
required.
in terms of formatting, if we see from top to below, everything has its like in your education experience, and then project doesn't have that. So that's my question.
Yeah, good that you pointed it out. I had this question on my head. Should I mention the date in project section or not? I did not. Why? Reason being, it's not mandatory for you to have the description. They know if it's a project, it's going to be like somewhere around 1 to 3 months only. It's not going to be more than that. Correct. So they have the idea of the time length. First thing. Second thing, which project is recent and which project is not. Why do you want, if you want to explicitly show that, it's good enough. But if you want to have your resume switchable, as in if there's a computer vision role, I want to put this on the top and this at the bottom. In that case, you want the flexibility to swap it, right? Then why do you want to bound it with the dates? You might
Yeah,
as well want
exactly.
to.
Having dates will change our chronological order, and then we don't know. It will put us into confusion, right?
Yeah, it will add a confusion.
Yeah.
But if you have it fixed that this is going to be my project order no matter what, which is not the best way out there, you know. But if you, just in case if you want to do that, you can have dates as well. But I don't prefer it. It's much more
Okay. Yeah.
informative to have this GitHub links. Why? Because this GitHub links uh,
Proof of work.
give credibility to your work, right?
Yeah.
These links show that whatever you have written here is not bluff. Okay. And my final and most important tip is to have numbers everywhere possible, each and every line possible, whatever kind of number it is, whatever type of number it is, just keep on putting numbers. 6 LLMs. For example, let me talk about this project. I built an agentic AI chatbot. I use 6 LLMs. Even if I use 5 LLMs, does that matter? No, it doesn't matter. But why did I write I use 6 LLMs? Because it gives some sort of scale. I used 500 plus files. I got a score of this. I improved the speed by 1.5 times. I used GPT-3, not 2, not 4. I used 100, I got 100 queries per second. these numbers differentiate you from an average candidate. An average candidate or a candidate who is trying to bluff things in their resume, they will write the lines from ChatGPT. You can go and or try just now. ChatGPT will never be able to produce the numbers. Why? Because ChatGPT doesn't know your project. It will just give you a generic information that I used XYZ model and I did XYZ things. It will never talk about the numbers. The numbers are unique to you. You should always put numbers. I asked the exact same question to one of my seniors that I don't even have a lot of numbers to put in each and every line, right? But he's like, you can put any basic thing. If you use the data set, you can write, I had data set with these many features or these many columns, or my data set had these many entries. So you can write that. My speed increased by 1.5 times. I can write that. My precision is this much. If I can compute precision, I can also compute accuracy. I can also compute other things. I can write that. Hallucinations reduced by 60%. I can write that. Get the numbers and mention it in your points. It does a magic of distinguishing you from all the folks who are trying to fake experiences or fake content in their resume. So that's how you differentiate yourself from them.
Yes.
Okay, so this brings uh, an end to this session. I thought I would complete it in 40 minutes. I went way past that. I know I'm a little sorry about that. But again, I think there was a lot of things to cover, and I did not want to miss out on any of those things. I hope it was good for you all. I'm open for questions, and I'll be here till the time each and every question gets answered. So do not rush and be a little patient. I will answer all of your questions. And yeah, I see clappings.